With a modded Xbox 360 console, you can play almost any Xbox original game from either DVD or backup file. So, let me show you how to get that set up. Hi and welcome to Bytes and Bits. If you've been following my Xbox 360 hacking series, so one of these machines here, you'll know that this is a great console with some fantastic games that we can install onto a standard hard disk drive so that we can play basically any game ever made for the system. Now, if you haven't watched my RGH3 modification videos, then please check them out by following the links in the description down below. But another great feature of a modified Xbox 360 is that we can play almost any original Xbox game as well. Now, when the Xbox 360 was launched, it was launched only 3 years after the original Xbox. But at that point, the two systems were not actually compatible. Now, Microsoft did make an effort to allow people to play their original game DVDs on the new Xbox, but only a few titles were allowed to run. And the Xbox 360, it effectively had to have a separate partition on its hard drive, and that was then used by an emulator that it allowed then to play these original titles. Now, not all of the titles worked, and because of that then Microsoft actually created a whitelist of games that was built into the emulator, and that would only allow it then to try and play certain games. Games that were not actually on that whitelist then, it just simply would ignore them. But fast forward then to today with our modded consoles, and here we can use an upgraded version of the Xbox emulator, and that will also then remove this whitelist so that we can then try out, well, pretty much any game from the original console. So that's what we're going to have a look at in this video. So let's add original Xbox emulation to our modified Xbox 360. To get our Xbox 360 set up, we're going to need to be able to copy across some files. And for this we're going to need a USB thumb drive or some sort of USB drive. Now, I've got a thumb drive plugged into my computer, and we need to format that as an FAT32 drive. Now, usually if you come into Windows Explorer, you'll be able to right click on your SD card and then just go to the format. And that should then allow you to format that. But you can see here that my SD card, because of what I do with a lot of sort of electronics and stuff, my SD cards tend to be formatted with multiple partitions. So instead of using the normal Windows Explorer format tool, I tend to use something called Minitool's Partition Wizard, which I've got running in the background here. So again, this is a free piece of software that you can download, and again I'll put links for that in the description, and it just gives you a lot more control over how you manage your disk drives and formatting and so on. So you can see down the bottom here we actually have my USB stick, and again it's formatted as a G partition and a K partition, and that's simply because I was using that to install Windows 11 onto a new PC. So I need to clean that completely then and just format it as a single partition in FAT32. So I'm going to just come in here, I'm going to say delete all my partitions. I'm then going to use the unallocated space, and I'm going to create a primary partition on that. It's going to be FAT32. I'm just going to leave the cluster size then as 32 kilobytes. That just makes it just a little bit more usable. And I'm going to OK that. So I can see here that the way that this bit of software works is I line up a number of operations, and once I'm sure that I'm doing that on the correct drive, I can then go and apply that. And again, if you are going through this, do make sure that you are doing it on the correct drive. Please do not format your Windows operating system disk. So once I'm okay with that, just click apply, and that then will do that for me. So I now have my USB drive all ready to transfer files for me. So we now need to get hold of some bits of software. So we're going to get these from the Console Mods website. And again, if you go to this web address, and I'll put that in the description down below, you'll come to this page which talks you through the whole process. But basically, we need to have a bit of software that will help us create this Xbox partition on our hard drive. And then we need to download the actual compatibility files, which will allow the emulator to run. So you can see there are two download links here, and we just simply need to click on those and download them onto our hard drive. So once those files are downloaded, we simply need to extract both of them into their own little folders. And once that's done, we can now start to copy some files onto our USB drive. So I've got my drive plugged in and it's on this tab here. If I go across then to my download area, I want to copy across this whole compatibility partition fixer folder. So just simply drag that whole folder across and drop it onto my USB drive. Then back in my downloads area, I have this XB1. So this is the actual compatibility files. If I open that up, you'll actually find there are two versions in here. So the regular version then is just the standard emulator files, and this HUD or the HUD one, that has got some enhancements to it which allow us to do some extra things on our hacked Xbox 360. So inside that folder you'll find a compatibility folder, and that's the one that we need to then just drag across onto our USB drive. So once all of those are copied across, we can just simply take this over and run this up on our Xbox 360. So back on the console, I've got my USB drive plugged in. So we now need to use a file manager. So I'm going to use the one from Aurora here. So if I press my back button, I can then select the file manager. I should then see my USB drive sitting there. So if I go down and select that with the A button, we now need to first of all create that partition on our hard drive. So that's done using this compatibility partition. So open up that folder and you should then find a default XEX file. So just simply highlight that and then press A to launch it. So that should start this application. And as I was saying here, we now need to press A to actually get it to install that partition. So once that is running, we just need to let it run all the way through. And once that's complete then, as it says, we can just press B to exit out of this application. So once that comes back, I would advise at this point then rebooting the system just to make sure that that partition is fully recognised by our console. So next we need to copy across those compatibility files for our emulator. So back into our file manager, we should then find our USB drive. And again, it's this compatibility folder which is the one we need to copy across. So make sure that's highlighted. Then go left to your menu, down to the copy function, where you can then use the B key to get back out of there. Then go up to our new HDDX partition, select that, and then go across to the menu on our left again. And then on the very bottom one is our paste, and we simply need to paste that folder in there. So once that's all completed, we should be able to come out of our file manager and we should now be ready to play an Xbox game. So I'm just going to pop a Need for Speed DVD into the console's drive. And we should find our Xbox 360 recognises that and pulls down the cover art for it. And there we have our Xbox game sitting there. So if I press the A button, that should launch that game, and we're now into an Xbox original game running on our Xbox 360. And as you can see from the video at the moment, the performance we're getting is, well, it's full speed Xbox, so absolutely no problems with playing these games. So one of the reasons that we used the compatibility with the Xbox 360 editions on it was that it actually gives us the ability to call up our main menu. So if I press my Xbox button on my controller, you'll see that we actually get our Xbox menu popping up, and that gives us much more control in terms of getting back to our menus and so on. So that's our system all set up now to play Xbox original games from the DVDs. But obviously we're going to want to be able to run those from our hard drive, both from discs that we've ripped ourselves and also then backup files that we're going to obtain elsewhere, perhaps on the internet and so on. So let's have a look at how we do that. So as usual, I'm going to assume that you've managed to get hold of some of these ISO files, so these DVD dump files. Now, they are available in a range of places, but do make sure that you check out my video on retro gaming copyright laws, just to make sure that you stay legal as you get hold of this software. Now, with Xbox games, they are going to come really in two flavors of ISO files. So as you can see here, I have some pure ISO files. So these are the raw dumps from the DVDs. But there also are these XISO files, and these are basically these raw dumps that have been reprocessed and repackaged then, specifically for use in the Xbox emulator, such as XEMU and so on. And that makes them a bit easier for the PC to actually get hold of the files inside them. Now, the process of getting these onto your Xbox 360 is very much the same as with Xbox 360 games, and I did produce an in-depth video on how to do that in a range of ways. So please do check that out for more detailed information. I'm going to run through the basic process here, but it is going to be exactly the same process as it was in that video for ripping your Xbox 360 DVDs and then processing backup files and so on. So in that, we used a little application called ISO to God, and this is probably going to be the easiest one to use to package up these Xbox games. So again, I'll put a link to that in the description down below, but please do go through that Xbox 360 video if you want more in-depth information. So if I boot up that, what it's basically going to ask me now for is to give me an ISO file. And what it's going to do is going to package that up as to one of these game on demand files, these GOD files. And that just simply provides us then with a folder which contains all of the information for this game, which we can simply transfer across to our Xbox 360 hard drive, and that will just install the entire game for us. So if I click on Add ISO, I can go and browse for an ISO file. And the ISO files we need are actually these XISO files. So I've got one sitting here ready prepared. So if I click on that and open that up, you can see that it recognizes that this is a Star Wars game. So I've already specified my output location and my build options. So I can just simply say add ISO, and then I can go and I can convert that, and that will turn that ISO disk dump into this God package ready for me to copy onto my Xbox 360. So do be aware that these conversion processes do take quite some time. These are big files that we need to produce. So just let it run and come back when it's finished. So as you can see, that game took about 5.5 minutes to produce this God package. And if I go across to my output folder, you'll see it sitting in there. And inside that folder, then these are the actual games so the actual files that make up that particular game. So if I come back up to the top of that. So this is the folder that we're going to eventually then copy across onto our Xbox hard drive, and that will install this particular game. But before we do that, let's go and have a look and see at what happens if we try and use one of those pure DVD dumps, those pure ISO files. So again, if I go into Add ISO, go out to Browse, if I try and use this Halo disk copy, so let's just highlight that and open that. You can see that it can't locate the files that it's expecting. So these default.exe X files and so on, those are the main game launching files that should be on that DVD. So it's not able to read this ISO file correctly. So we need to do a bit of processing to it before we can actually use ISO to God to produce our Xbox 360 installation package. So let's have a look at how we do that. So we're going to need the help of a software package to be able to do this. And now if you head across to this GitHub repository for this extract-xiso bit of software, this is exactly what we need. So this is going to allow us to take an ISO file or even an XISO file, and it's going to allow us to repackage that so that we can then use it within our ISO to God package or even within our XEMU emulator if we're going to go that way. So if we head across there, if we go down here to the releases section and then go to the latest build, You'll see we have a number of download options. So we're going to download the release.zip file. Now I'm going to put that into its own separate folder. So you can see within my sort of messing around with Xbox area here, I've now got a folder called extract. And I'm going to put it in there for a reason that we're going to see in a second. So let me just download that. If I then come into that download area, I have my zip package there, and I'm just going to extract the files here. So just come down and extract them here. And that will spit out a exe file and a license text. So these two files here, I don't actually need those. We just need the extract-xiso.exe, and that's the application that we're going to be working with. So this is actually a command line or a terminal application, and we're going to have to be using that. So we are going to have to type in the commands, and that command is going to have to reference some files on our PC. Now, if you're happy with Windows path names, then all fine. But I'm going to take you through what I would say is the easiest way. So especially if you're not familiar with using the terminal or the command line, then do follow me through here. So we're going to need to get hold of and be able to access one of our game ISOs. So let's try that Halo Combat Evolved one. So I'm just simply going to move it from here, and I'm going to put it into my extract folder. Now at the moment that file name has got spaces and everything inside there, and that makes it a bit hard for us to reference that from the command line. So this is Halo Combat Evolved. We're going to remember what that game name was because we're going to change it back in a bit, but I'm going to make it a much easier path name to actually work with. So I'm just going to call it Halo Combat Evolved. We now need to run this application from the command line from within this folder, and it's then going to process that file for us. So if I right click here, I can say I want to open a terminal here. Okay, so let me just move that down so we can see what's going on. I'll just make that a bit smaller so we can see it a bit better. Okay, so you can see that we are now in our Windows PowerShell or terminal window. Your one might look a bit different to mine, depending on what particular command line tool you've got set up. But in general, it will be exactly the same commands that we're going to be using. So you can see here that I am actually sitting in this folder, which matches up with what we have up here. We're going to be running this particular bit of code, and we're going to get it to reference this file. Now, if you want to see what those command lines are, if we go back to our GitHub repository and back to the main page for that, the actual command line commands are all listed down here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be rewriting the file system structure for our ISO file, and that's this rewrite command down here. So in effect, at the moment, our halo.iso file is actually the raw dump from the DVD. So we're going to use this program to convert that raw dump into a proper XISO file that we can then use in that ISO to God application or off in our XAMU. So you can see the format of that then is that we do this command here where we do the extract ISO -r is an option, and we then give it the name, the file name of the actual ISO file that we want to extract. So let's copy that command for now. I'm going to come across back into my both my terminal and my file explorer. So if I come in here, I can copy that, I can paste that command in there. So you can see that that is referencing this program. We have the -r switch, and then we just simply need to reference this ISO file here. So again, luckily I've just managed to name it, and I just don't need that hyphen there. Okay, so we're going to run the extract-xiso exe file. We're going to tell it to rewrite, and we're going to tell it to rewrite this ISO file here, which matches what I have there. So let's just click return on that, and it should start processing that ISO file for me. So once that processing has finished, we can just close out our terminal window. We don't need that anymore. And you should then find that you have two ISO files sitting in your folder. So one is the original one that we had, which is that raw DVD dump. So I don't actually need that anymore, because this is the file here which is now the correct one for me. And that now is our XISO file. So let's just rename that back so we know exactly what that is. So that was our Halo Combat Evolved file. And then I can move that back into my games folder so that I have everything in the one place. So that now is our XISO file. So if we come over to our ISO to God program again, we should find, if we try and add that in now, and if I come through and do Halo Combat Evolved, it now correctly identifies that as the Halo game, and we should be able to just add that and then convert that now into this God package ready for installation onto our Xbox 360. So once that's complete, we should be able to close down our ISO to God. And if we then have a look in our output folder, we should find we have our two games all packaged up ready for us there. So I've plugged in a transfer USB drive. I'm going to use this drive to transfer the files across to my Xbox. So I'm simply going to highlight those and just copy them across to there. So once that's all copied over, we can now take that and plug it into our Xbox. So we're going to use our file manager in Aurora to copy these files over. So into File Manager. So those files were on my USB drive, and I put them into a folder for my original Xbox games. So again, all we're doing here is these God packages need to be put into a specific folder on our Xbox hard drive. And again, all of that is more clearly described, and I take you through more detail on my copying games video. So do check that out if you're not quite sure what's going on here. So to copy it across, I need to select both these folders by using my X button. On my left-hand menu then, I can come down to the copy command, I can copy those. I now need to tell it where I want to paste them. So coming up, so they're on our hard drive. Yes, in the content folder, and then the 16.0 folder. And then I just need to paste them in here. So come down to paste. And yes, I want to paste those two items. And then we need to let that run through, because again, we are copying across about 7 or 8 gigabytes of data now. So once those have finished copying across, we should be able to come down in our list here. So these are all my God packages. And we should there find, we can see there's the two ones that have just been copied over. So our Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and our Halo. So if I come back out of my file manager, out to here, I should be able to restart my Aurora package just to make sure that I get those games logged in the system. So hopefully somewhere in this list, we should now find a couple of Xbox games. So let's see if we can come across here and find them. So there is our Xbox game, the Knights of the Republic. So if I go into details for that, we should find that that is all correct. If I come back out of there. And there we have our Halo sitting there as well. So if I go for the details for that. And again, this is the one where we had to do that repackaging of the ISO file. So let's see if that actually works. And there we are booting into Halo. So let's see if that's all going okay. And there we have the Xbox version of Halo running on our Xbox 360. So that's us now all set up ready to play Xbox games on our Xbox 360. Again, we can do those either from our DVDs or from our backup ISO files, and we know how to transfer them from one format to another. So I hope you found this useful. Please do click that like button and subscribe to the channel for more gaming, modding and making tutorials. I look forward to seeing you again very soon, and bye for now. For more games programming, electronics projects and retro gaming, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit my website.